Hello, I'm Michael Redmond, professional Go player. In this video, I'm going to show you a game I played against Muramatsu Ryuichi 8-dan in the Kiriyama Cup. In this game, I have the black stones, and when I played this Kakari, white played a Kakari against my corner. At this point, I'm going to play a move that is sort of the theme for the last few games I've been playing, and I kick against the white stone. So this is a point where it would have been more natural for black to play something like this, or maybe a move like this. In this case, white would have a lot of choices. Like white could play an extension on the side, or white could play some kind of a pincer on the lower side, or white could play something towards the upper right corner, so an approach move, or some people would play the through 3-point. White has a number of choices, and that would be okay too, but in this case, I chose to play more forcefully. And I've been playing this joseki a lot recently, so I was sort of experimenting with it. The value of this is that black does have sente, black keeps the tempo, and can play a double kakari in the lower left. So in general, black is going to be able to play a fast-paced opening in this case. So white plays the attachment and extends, and this is the popular joseki here. And at this point, white has a few choices. The strongest local move is to connect here, in which case black is going to play something on the left side. And where is the question? For instance, black could play this move, which would be followed by white playing something towards the center. The left side and the lower side are probably miyai. So for instance, something like this might happen, where white is going to pincer black on the lower side. White's corner group here is perfectly safe. For instance, if black pushes through and cuts at some point, it's not even very easy for black to kill the corner, even if white leaves this. It's not going to die unconditionally. If white plays here, it's pretty much alive. And for the time being, white has this cut on the outside, which is bothersome for black. So it's not an immediate threat there. Otherwise, black might play an extension. This is also a very common move. And white probably can play here. Again, white is making miyai of the left side of the board and the lower side. So if black, for instance, plays something like this, white can play here and here. And black's group on the left side is not 100% alive. So white is attacking here and will probably get some profit in the upper left area here. Otherwise, if black plays something on this side in preparation to playing on the left side, white might just pincer here. And this starts a fight on the lower side. So white does have some potential to be attacking in this local fight. In the game, white played this attachment. This is also, in recent years, this has become a very popular joseki. And black pushes through once and plays the hane here. And locally, the joseki move is for black to connect here, and white will play some kind of an extension on the side. So in this case, with the white stone in the upper left corner, I think white might play the high extension on the fourth line, or playing the lower extension on the third line is also a popular move. So this also works. And I sort of liked the idea of playing away, playing a more fast-paced game. But this connection in the corner is a very big move. In fact, AlphaGo was suggesting that black plays it now. After playing this exchange of the approach move and white's pincer, black still has room to come in between those two white stones. So that means when white plays here, black can come in here. And this is an opening that I might have fun playing. If white plays here, black will continue here. After this, black can be putting pressure on white in this general area. The white group does not have eyes. So, for instance, something like this. And black's chasing the white group, and the white group is going to be playing dame point, relatively bad points, in places that are difficult to make into territory. So this is okay, even though black has taken a loss in the upper left corner. I think this is an okay variation for black. In the game, I just jumped into the 3-3 point. So it's pretty clear at this point that my strategy, black's strategy here, is to take territory first and deal with white's areas after that. And so white crawls. if white had connected, this would have been the old joseki, and black would jump. And white does need an extra move locally. So in this case, this is working very well for black in this particular case, where white needs a move to finish this position, also needs a move to finish this position. So if white plays here, then I can probably do something on this side to invade the left side after all. And if white plays something on this side, I still have this move to invade the left side on that side. So it's difficult for white to finish this left side with just one move. And that was my plan. So white crawled, and so that makes sense. In this case, not only is it the popular joseki in this position, I think it's the correct move for this board position. For instance, if black plays here and white plays here, white has a much more solid position here, and it's going to make moves like this for black. This move will be much less, it'll be less effective. When white has that stone at 2, it's going to be more difficult for black to accomplish anything on the left side. So that's compared to this variation, where black has some more room for moves like this to make some life on the left side there. So this would be a very much more solid position towards the side. So I extended here, and white played the kick here, and it's a strange move to see, and it turns out it was not the best move. White should have curled once and then covered. And in this case, if black jumps, then again white has a very solid position towards the side, and black's 3 stones are not going to amount to very much. So if black pushes through here, now white connects and plays here, and these 4 black stones are pretty much captured. They're not likely to survive. And as in the previous variations, white does have a relatively solid position towards this side, although in this case black will have potential at some point to jump in here somewhere. It's just a better position for white when we compare to the game, where white's position there is just a little bit more loose, and I get this jump threatening to play a hane underneath here and cut off the whole white group. White answered with the connection on the first line, but this was just a little bit painful, I believe, because the black stones now can be discarded because black has played a move from above for the white move on the first line. And I played again here, slightly greedy. It's a thing I have, a problem I have with when I have more territory. I just go for the strongest moves. Sometimes it's not advised. In fact, in this case, white answered here, so this worked fine. This was a good exchange for me. It was a kikashi, but white could have played more strongly, just ignoring it and taking eyes in the corner. And this is still a big move. It's a big move because it's making eyes for the white group. This group here, it's making this group strong, and it's weakening the black group on this side. So black does not have eye space anymore. And there's a lot of potential for white to be attacking in this variation. White answered here, so this made it relatively easy for me when all of my stones have been exchanged for white stones below on the left side there. So white's answered my 5th line stone with a stone on the 3rd line. I'm talking about these 2 stones here. This stone also was answered on the 1st line. That means that I can afford to sacrifice these stones because I haven't actually invested a move in getting these positions. And so I just played away. And this is the final big opening point, almost. There's still some opening points on the right side, for instance, but this is the biggest one. White plays here. White is starting to set up an attack, but as all of my stones are light, I decided to play away once more. And white played here. This is also, although it's a very slow move, it is an important shape move where black could have played that point. That said, black has got a huge positional advantage on the rest of the board, and all black has to do is handle this area of white's skillfully. The way I did that was I played the attachment here, and this is threatening fairly forceful hane at this point. And so it's pretty much forced for white to answer this. and black gets to extend towards the center. And in this variation, I felt okay with some potential of a cut here. For instance, at some point, I can push through here and force with this stone. So I have some potential to make an extra eye there in this general area. In some cases, I can push through here and force with this to have a potential eye at this point. So there's some eye making potential there. And there's also the potential of instead cutting here, which would be a forcing move. So I can do it that way also, if I can get some potential on the outside. So there's some extra value there in my leaving that cutting point in white's position. And I can afford to give this area to white. I'm pretty much on the right track here. But it was interesting to see what AlphaGo suggested, because it was completely different. So just to go back a few moves, at this point, white has invested a lot of moves on the left side, and my idea was that I would skillfully reduce it, and white would not have any room to make enough territory. And AlphaGo just plays away, and then plays here. It's difficult to explain what this move is doing, but it's basically very similar to what I did, only that exchange of all these points is not played, and that gives black more room in the center. It gives white a bit more potential to make a territory. For instance, if white plays somewhere around here, white's going to get more territory there locally, but that's okay for black. For instance, if black starts forcing from the outside, you can see that black also has potential to expand in this general area. So it's not an issue for black if white gets some extra territory on the left. It's just not enough space. That's how AlphaGo was doing it, and this is how I did it. And white played here. So this is a kind of a submarine attack, and I connected here and connected. And my feeling was that this exchange was not really gaining that much for white when it was actually creating opportunities for me to chase white and get into this territory. So I'm going to show you how that's supposed to happen. But it also was a very conservative, a tight way for me to answer it. So just to show you some variations, one thing I was considering was to play this way, which would be a stronger local move. And white's strongest move is to extend here if black covers. This might happen, in which case white is trying to squeeze. And so if this happens, white does have some influence towards the center. So this is a passable variation for white. Of course, AlphaGo was playing away at this point, which is probably not going to happen in my game, but I was going to take the 3 stones. But I didn't like the idea of white squeezing me like this. It seemed to be a satisfactory result for white. So another move I considered was to press here. And in this case, black cannot really afford to be backing off too much here, because this will become a forcing move, and white will be able to win the race to capture. So when this happens, and this happens, this is also a troublesome variation for black, when white can get some forcing moves here and play here. And this looks dangerous for black. So I didn't like that one either. And playing here and here is a very similar problem in which this becomes a forcing move. Looking at this, it's pretty clear that this exchange of 1 for 2 has become a bad move. And this links up to the correct answer, you might say, which I found with AlphaGo, is that AlphaGo was suggesting this move. And I did not even think of this move. It's a very weird move, a weird shape, because it's not even closing white in. But the idea with this move is that if white plays here, black can extend, and it's very similar to that other variation where I was showing black playing here and here. Only that exchange of 1 for 2, it's not there. It's a lot better for black without that exchange. So let's take a look at that. black plays here and here. And now if white plays the attachment here, black can always play here and wedge. And this is going to be good for black. It's just white's not getting any liberties out of this. If white starts the race to capture in the corner, this is going to be a win for black. This way. Black is winning by 1 move. So that's bad for white. And so white might try playing here. And this is the case where not having this exchange is making it a lot easier for black. Just the fact that those stones on the outside don't have the same shortage of liberties. For instance, if there's this black stone and black plays here, white's going to cut through here. And black's 4 stones in the center of the board are short of liberties. However, in this case, the shape is without that heavy shape that black created in the previous variation. Having these stones relatively light and even dispensable in some cases. With black living in the corner, this would have been so much better. In actual play, white will probably escape towards the center with something like this. But this would be okay for black. Black playing on both sides in this case. In the game, I simply played here. I have a good position overall. And white plays here. So now at this point, my positional judgment was that black had a sizable lead. And I was correct, but my execution of it was not so good. One of the reasons I have a good position is that I can attack here, and white's going to have trouble dealing with this. For instance, if white covers on top, the group on the lower side is in danger. If white extends, black can break through here, and this is going to reduce white's territory on the left to a great degree. If white plays here, there's even the cutting move here to look forward to next. And so white's whole group is still weak, and I can continue with something like this to put pressure on white's group on the outside too. So that would be good for me. In fact, I could have played this immediately, but instead I played the invasion here. This actually was apparently okay, but at this point the game becomes a bit more complicated, and from the human viewpoint it becomes slightly more difficult for black to finish this game off. So it might have been better for me to play something a bit more conservative. For instance, pushing here would be a safe move. This would be relatively simple, the continuation, and I do have an advantage in the overall position. In the game, I played here, which was a big move. It takes away white's base on the right side, and when white covers on the 4th line, I just have to crawl. Pulling back would be a bit too submissive, and bumping against white allows white to cover here. I just wanted to crawl. I didn't like any of the other shapes. So white plays here and jumps into the corner. This is okay for black. White's alive in the corner. Probably best for me just to jump here. This would be the natural shape move. And if white plays here, black can play something towards the side. This would have been okay. In the game, I played on this side. This works provided I'm consistent. White played here, I play here, white plays here. And after this, something strange is going on here with me. And so, for instance, I should probably just connect up here, and white will connect up too. And then black can do this. And black does have a winnable position. It's a good position for black. And I was aware of that. I got a bit too adventurous, and I play this move. And you can see I'm hoping to attack this group eventually. So I have this idea, and it gets a bit too exciting. So white pulls back here. This is a nice sequence where white has pushed me down on the upper side, and I play here. And my group there is not 100% alive. So after this exchange, I really need to add a stone to it, but my group in the center is a bit thin, and it's a bit less clear who's winning the game now. And what's more, I attack here. And so this is not the best timing. And it's because my group here in the center is a bit weak. So it's not the best time to be doing this. In the game, I was thinking with the idea that maybe I'm going to sacrifice this group. So if white plays here at some point, this group on the upper side is going to be pretty severely squeezed, but it's not going to die outright. So for instance, if black plays something like this, and white plays here, black can play here, and connecting up to the corner or capturing that stone at 5. One or the other way, black's going to live. And there's issues with the life and death of the corner too, but there's also some problems white might have with this group on the outside. So that sort of balances out. Locally it's a painful situation for black, but black can survive there. But it is locally a bit troublesome position, so I didn't really want to do that. And so I was attacking first, and in some cases, I was thinking I could sacrifice that group on the upper side if I could get some profit on the lower side or the right side, or maybe the left side in some cases. So white answered that. And my group in the center of the board is getting very, very weak at this point. So I added a stone. And my threats in the lower right area, one would be to play a stone somewhere around here and cut off this group on the right while looking at weaknesses on white's group on the left here. And also the diagonal move here would start to connect up all my stones on the left half of the board, and that would be pretty big in territory. And so if I can get a combination of these two moves and push white around on the lower side and the left side also, then in some cases I can afford to just sacrifice this group on the top. That would be white's only remaining big territory in that case. And I do have territory in various parts of the board. So that was sort of my plan. And white continues to attack. White is still attacking this black group here. And I escape once. And at this point, I think white had to put a stone in, maybe at this point. And the question is, how do I survive on both sides? I might want to play something like this, or I might be a bit more adventurous with something like this. I think this was the move that Katago was suggesting, trying to combine the potential I have to cut off this white group with living on the upper side and protecting my central group. It looks like black does have some ways to get out of this problem. If black can survive with all of the groups, then black is going to have a lead in territory. In fact, in this case, black has this huge move to look forward to, and white is way behind in territory. So white has to have some profit out of this attack. And I think that's what spurred white to play this move, which is a very strong attack on black's group on the upper side. But as I was saying, it does not completely kill it yet. So I counterattacked with this move, and white cannot capture this stone. So if white plays from this side, it's going to be very painful when black can capture these stones, and also has the extension here, which is it's a headache for white. So that would not be good for white. White plays an Atari from this side, and and played here. So this is a point where white really needed to put a stone in here to be alive on the right. I would start attacking white on the left here. In some cases I have this move to take the lower side, or maybe I'm going to return to the upper side to try to live there. I think black has a slight advantage in this board position. In the game, white played this move on the left, and after this it becomes relatively easy for me. So I play this key point, and locally white is already in a very dangerous situation here. White doesn't have two eyes. For instance, if I play here, actually I can probably kill this white group, although there's some issues with white extending here having to do with it. So if white extends here, and if I have to answer that move, it's going to be alive. So for instance, if white plays here and plays here, now if I answer that with something like this, white can make an eye here, and black cannot save that stone at 1. That stone at 1 has been captured. So that did not work for black. But black can play on this side, and because black has captured either these two stones or this one, those black stones are connected. So if white continues this way, there's no way white can capture those black stones. If white continues this way, there might be some AlphaGo here. So this is going to be pretty desperate for white, but it looks like it's working for black. I sort of knew that, but I wanted to play a bit more safely, so I started with this move. And this is threatening to cut white in the center. It's also, for instance, if white plays here, it's setting up moves like this, or I might actually play it this way, which is threatening to cut white again, and is going to pick up some more profit on the left side. So I'm going for the profit first, because my stones now, they're all safe, and I can probably get away with either taking this group or saving the upper group as I showed in a previous variation. So I don't really have to do anything to have a territorial lead at this point. In the game, white played here, threatening to cut at this point. But I can answer that like this, and white is cut off. So white has to live now. And in the process, I'm going to get a more solid position on the right. So after this, playing at this point is going to just outright kill the white group on the right. But since my opponent played here, the lower side is a ko also, so I played the ko for a while. Having 30 seconds per move, I thought it wise just to double check my reading. So at this point I played here, sort of like a ko threat, but actually the white group is already dead. So to go into that once more, if white plays like this and makes an eye here, or even if white plays the hane, this would be an eye too, but black can just play here and here. And that captures these white stones in the center, and white is dead. So that was relatively easy. Or if white answers in the center, then black can kill white with this. White only has the one eye. So there's no escape for white, and at this point, when black played here, white resigned. So that was, I think it was my second or third game in this tournament, and I had another game that I played later that day, so I'll get around to making a video for that second game that I played the same day also. And thank you for watching. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Thank you for watching.